Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming back promptly. It always helps. Our second keynote speaker today really needs no introduction, so I'm not really going to give her one. But I think you're going to find this very interesting. It's Suzannah Nichol, Chief Executive of Build UK.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, David. How lovely to see so many of you in the room. And what a great exhibition. There's a lovely buzz in the room, which is really, really nice. And I love to feel that when I go to industry events. I'm going to do a few quick questions, so a bit of audience participation required here, just to suss out who is in the audience. So can you pop your hand up? Any clients? A couple of clients, principal contractors? A couple scattered through the audience, specialist contractors, installers. Right, yeah, that's probably getting on for 30%. Manufacturers, suppliers. Right, and about the same, manufacturers and suppliers. That's great. A bit more of a sensitive question now. This is very much age related. So I'm going to put up a few slides. So I want you to reimagine your teenage self, where you were and what you were doing. And I want you to put your hand up if the slide is your teenage self. So, ooh, no baby, ooh, a couple of reluctant baby boomers in the room there. This next one's where my money's on. Right, yeah, that's me. A bit of Generation X, so that's great. I know where my core audience is. You're speaking my language. A few millennials. Ooh! I think there's a few people who think they're millennials who aren't. Actually, that's great. That was about 20% millennials. So welcome. I had to go and look up some of these things. And what about this? Anyone? Is this your teenage years? Right. That's probably about right. This is your Gen Z. So we've probably all got kids who are Gen Z. If you've got, yeah, there's a few very sad nods in the audience, glued to their mobile phone. A bit of Harry Styles there, but we all love a bit of Harry Styles. And particularly, it always resonates with me. Those of us who've got Gen Z kids, I think we probably underestimate how much the pandemic, that impact on them, whether they were littlies or whether they're teenagers. It kind of really, really shaped their lives in a way different to ours, but that's our Gen Z. But there's none of them here anyway, so I'm expecting no phones out, I'm expecting no Instagram post, and I'm certainly not expecting to see myself on TikTok after this, if that is okay. Technology failure here already. Hold on, let's get going. Right, so now I know where you are and where you sit. Hopefully I can talk your language. Now, sitting in this room, I sometimes think you are the secret superheroes of construction, because you create the organs and the arteries of our buildings that make them work. Without you guys, they are just an empty shell. But nobody ever sees what you do. It's all hidden. Nobody ever even thinks about what you do until it all goes wrong, and then you are right in the frame. But it's you who make those buildings operational. It's you who makes them work. And I know that operational performance is key in your sector. Just looking at going around the exhibition, the level of technology, the innovation, the things you are looking at, you are a really technical part of our industry, and that operational performance, how it works, is really, really key. But in order to achieve that, I know it's a really challenging business environment out there at the moment. Who's confident about their pipeline of work over the next 12 months? Who's got a full order book? Right, so for those of that's probably about 20% of the audience. Who is confident for the next 3 months? Right, a lot more hands go. So there's probably the gap in between that. How many of you are looking to 2026, 2027 and are saying, yeah? Right, so actually it's quite positive, looking a bit further away. It's just in the short term, which reflects everything that we're seeing in the statistics at the moment as well. But it is really challenging out there. And I always watch the news, when I'm watching the news in the evening, almost every single event affects the construction sector. It doesn't matter what it is. I watch the news and think, oh, well, there's my day gone tomorrow because we'll be doing this, that, or the other, or we're going to have, more financial issues, or the cost of materials is going to go up, or everything impacts construction. So we all start out with the best laid plans, which look a bit like here, going to get on my bike, going to get to the end. And then the reality is a bit more like this, and it's really difficult to plan for that, certainly in our industry. And when I look back over the last 8 to 10 years, I go, well, we've kind of got that seismic impact of Grenfell back in 2017, which really now affects all of our lives, both particularly us in our sector, but possibly outside as well. So we've got Grenfell. We then had Brexit. The gift that keeps on giving. We had the collapse of Carillion, if those of you can remember that January of 2018, and again the effect that had, and I still think the hangover of that is huge. We then had the COVID pandemic, which I can't work out whether that was yesterday or never happened. It really does feel a bit like that sometimes, but obviously it shifted our whole life, and again, particularly in air quality. So in that positive outcome, there's always got to be a positive outcome of anything, of people understanding and being much more aware of ventilation and that air quality for them. We then had the Ukraine war, we had hyperinflation, we had a recession, we had a whole new building safety regime, which is tying us all up in knots, but very slowly starting to unravel that. My personal opinion on that is when we get this right, it will massively increase the operational performance. When we get the building safety regime right, when we start to implement it and we all understand it, we're all flowing through it is a massive game changer and a step up for our industry and a whole host of quality, operational performance. Some of those sticky retention issues will start to come out in the wash when we get the building safety regime. We're in the really, really painful bit now. More collapses. Osborne, ISG, it's a year ago that ISG went down. Again, I can't work out whether that was yesterday or a year ago. And the impact of that is still being felt through the industry. And even as Build UK, one of our little teams, we hand-placed every one of the 135 graduate and apprentices that were let go from ISG. Some of them were in their second week of work. We've lured them into the industry, offered them a great career, and in week 2, they're gone. And every single one, some of our other principal contractors picked up all of those 135 young people. And we still hear from them now that the industry helped them continue their career. We also have an ambitious, not quite so new government now. Again, that was just over a year ago. Very ambitious government, lots of ideas, lots of taxes, lots of national insurance contribution increases, and possibly more challenges to come next month. And I'll come on to that a little bit about how turning ambition into delivery, because that's what makes... I've got loads of ambitions. Actually delivering on them is the key on this. So we have lots of external factors that really impact on you and your business, and some of them you can do absolutely nothing about. We just have to roll with it. We have to weather the storm. We have to find ways through it. But on the flip side, we also create quite a lot of our own problems as industry. Our adversarial contractual terms, the late payment throughout our industry, some of the site conditions, some of the impossible programmes, the fact that we say yes to clients knowing that we can't possibly deliver what they want, or actually what they want is impossible to deliver, but we continue to say, can we fix it? Yes, we can as an industry, which sometimes gets us all in a bit of a fix that we don't really want to be in. All of those challenges, both the external ones and the industry ones, are leading to a very cautious approach at the moment from investors. So any of you work in the resi sector? Any of you work in the resi market? You're all commercial buildings, operations, infrastructure type projects. The challenge for those of you in the commercial sector is, whether we like it or not, that resi sector, the house building, those high-rise, actually drives a lot of the investment through the industry, which then leads to a lot of the commercial projects. We've got the lowest housing starts in something like 10 years at the moment, a lot due to the building safety regime, not just that, the planning regime, the financial viability, two staircases, a whole load of things impacting on that. But that gums up the whole market, that investors sit back and wait and see. One investor once said to me, actually, sometimes I don't care where I put my money, I just want a return. If a racehorse is going to give me that, that's what I'll buy. If a building is going to give me that, or construction or infrastructure, that's where I'm going to put my money. So that's where our investors sit at the moment with all that caution. So plenty of challenges, and I always sit here and look at our industry and go, I love it, but I wouldn't start from here. But here we are. But as well as those challenges, there is also a lot of opportunity out there at the moment. We have got that ambitious government. It wants to build, it recognises the value of homes and infrastructure, both new build and maintaining what we do. So again, great markets for the whole industry, but your sector as well. But we really need to see that ambition translate into those projects on the ground. So I imagine some of you are looking at things like the new hospital programme in your area, not just those multi-billion-pound hospitals, but some of the smaller work in the health care sector. We've got the infrastructure strategy, £750 billion worth of commitments over the next 10 years. That's not bad. That's a pretty big programme to deliver. And you can go online and see the pipeline of work that NISTA, which is the, I can never remember what it stands for, Information and Services Transformation Authority, National Information Services and Transformation Authority. It's the government organisation that's now responsible for overseeing the delivery of that £750 billion. But we need it to come out of the pipeline and into the industry and delivery. So you can go online and see that pipeline. It's quite a high level at the moment, but it will show you where those programmes are, it will show you what those projects are, and the next step for is to get that next level down. So you can start to look at that pipeline and not just go, well, I've got no idea if that project's going to affect me. You can start to look in whether it's your region, your sector, and you can start to see and get some confidence that there is sufficient work out there for all of you. Clearly, you're not going to win every single project, but if we know there is enough work, it enables you to make those longer-term business decisions, invest in that apprentice, start to look at your systems, start to work out who you're going to collaborate with, and start to talk to your contractors and your clients about that longer-term pipeline of work. Because we know in order for you to make those decisions, you need that certainty of pipeline. So step by step, the 10-year infrastructure strategy is a really good start. We've never had that before. Bit of a bugger that the Chief Secretary of the Treasury moved about 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago now in the cabinet reshuffle, but the strategy is laid, the pipeline is there. So there's lots to talk about in terms of growth. There isn't much new money though. So if we want to realise that 750 billion, the biggest way we can do that is look at our productivity, look at how we deliver, how we perform, because we can make that money go further and work harder and more of it go to your bottom line rather than on the things that we waste time and money on or suck up that time and money. And I'm delighted with the attention we've got as an industry from government. Whichever room I'm in, it's all about homes and infrastructure. 1.5 million homes. Who thinks we can do it? The government can do it. It's not our problem, theirs. Not one hand's gone up in the room. You're all absolutely right. I don't believe, of course we can't do it. Certainly not in the way we operate, certainly not with the skills that we've got, certainly not with the way we build houses. We still build houses the way the Victorians do. Also, the government is relying on the private sector to build houses for people to buy when the very people who need the homes can't actually buy a house. And my personal view is we need a massive social house building programme that the government funds that will move us forward. However, the positive side to having a target of 1.5 million homes, even if we don't believe it can be done, is it massively focuses government's attention on sorting out some of those problems. And again, we've never had that before. So one of my asks is, when you go away and talk about the 1.5 million homes and see it as, well, we're never going to do it, actually turn it round to and say, Well, do you know what, though? If they've got an ambition to do it, they've got to sort some of this stuff out, and we can be part of that. I think the best we can hope for is in 2029, which will be the end of the current parliamentary term, we are in a position that we could, going forward, start to deliver those 300,000 homes a year. We need to meet that target. So I will count that as a win if we can sort out planning. Steve reads a bit, build, baby, build. I can't even say the phrase without build, baby, build. It sounds fantastic, doesn't it? I think we'd like to build properly, build safely, build good stuff that we can maintain and that is here for the long term is a much better outcome for the industry. So we're already engaging with the 29th construction minister in 30 years. Just let that sink in. And our new building safety minister, Samantha Dixon, who I'm meeting in a couple of weeks. We've got really good relationship with the last building safety minister. It is one of the reasons you are seeing the changes in the regime. We got in front of the minister as Build UK, as BESA, as the Construction Leadership Council and said, this is not working. Look at the evidence, this is what we're going to do. And it's been grabbed by the scruff of its neck and it's moving forward. It will take a bit of time, but we're already seeing the changes. But when we are in front of government, and this is the second place where you can help me, we talk about the 5 Ps to power up construction. So we sit here and say to government, you need a pipeline of work. Tick, they're starting to provide us with a pipeline of work. We need to get it delivered. Places to live. That's a good P that resonates with government. When you're talking to government, you've got to tick their box as well. But these homes drive the rest of construction. Procurement. We want better, more effective procurement. If we start with government, it's 40% of the industry's client. So if we can get that 40%, cooking on gas and procuring, early engagement, bringing you as supply chain members, you as suppliers into that discussion earlier when you can make those fundamental decisions, where you can contribute to good solutions, so you drive up that productivity, that will be much, much better for you, for the industry, for all of us. Performance, that's where you come in. You are the performance piece, how we deliver what we do out on those projects from beginning to end. And I'll come on a couple of things there. And that enables us to invest in our people. I know you've had a couple of AI talks this morning. I think AI is going to change the game. We're a really slow adopter in our industry of technology. Whole raft of reasons. You've probably had that in your presentation. Whole raft of reasons why we are. The potential issues. Your job won't go to AI. It will go to a person who understands and uses AI. And back to Gen Z, they come into your company and they just know how it works. How many of you hand your phone to your teenager going, can you just sort that out, please? And they just move so quickly, you go, slow down. But investing in our people. 1 in 10 of the working population work in construction. And we need that to continue. Our average age is 55 at the moment. So we need those young people, we need those career changes come in naturally. We lose about 200,000 people from the industry each year and about 200,000 come in from other sectors. That looks after itself. It's that next generation that we need coming in for our people. So as Build UK, we bring together that whole construction supply chain. We bring together the clients, your principal contractors, your trade associations. BESA is one of those. We have about 36 trade association members, and your chief executive, David Free, sits on the Build UK board. We bring together professional services as well. So we've got that whole supply chain. And somebody said to me earlier, it's always somebody else's fault. And it's true. Whoever's not in the room, it's their fault. If only my client, if only my contractor. Do you know what? When you're all around the table, it's quite powerful, because when you say, what about the clients? And I go, there you go, client, what do you answer to that? It's all the contractor's fault. There you go. What are we going to do about that? It's how we've done, it's how we change the industry. Sometimes it feels quite slow, and I'll come to some examples, but it's how we make the difference. And as BESA, you are one of those 36 trade associations sitting around that table with those clients and principal contractors. And you specialist contractors in the room, you are the powerhouse of this industry. You are the engine room, because without you, we can't build anything. And my ask to all of you is stand up and be really confident that you are the powerhouse. And if we bring you all together as specialist contractors, you are absolutely incredible. And that is a fantastic way for me to talk to government and get them to pull the right levers about the supply chain. Because without you, nothing would get built. Absolutely. Tier 1 contractors in the room are going, hey, but what about us? I'm going, yeah, but the real power is in those specialist contractors who deliver out on site. So the more efficient, the smarter we work as a supply chain, the more effective our contractors can be, the more effective as an industry we can talk to clients. And the best example of that is during COVID. We kept between us the industry open through every single lockdown. And we did that because the whole industry lent in. We wrote the site operating procedures, you may remember those, all 16 editions of them. I still have nightmares about face coverings and about distancing because some of that got very complicated. But all of you got up in the morning, you and your people went out your front door to work when everybody else was just told to stay at home because they might die, and your teams carried on following the most bizarre set of rules we've ever had to write. But you did it. We were the only industry sector that stayed open apart from the blue light and the supermarket sector through every single lockdown. I was so proud of the industry, and you know what? Because we sorted ourselves out, government left us to it. They came to us for advice on how to do it for other sectors. Other countries phoned us to ask us for advice on how we did it. And you did that. So we can do it. My challenge is, it seems we need a crisis for us all to decide we're on the same page. And I don't want another crisis, but I know we can do it when we get the right conditions and people stop doing their own thing and say, how do we do this for team construction? You all have a lot more influence in the industry when you work together as well. And that's what, as BESA members, where your value is, where your strength is, and by bringing BESA to us as well. And particularly now, the spotlight is on the performance of the industry, how we deliver, what we do, quality and safety. So it's about not playing just for your team, but it's coming together for the Red Roses. Anyone who's a rugby fan, watching the ladies win a couple of weeks ago demonstrates how, when we put aside our own personal interests, and I quite like doing it that way, I'm going to do my own little way over here, if we all lean in, how we actually make the difference. And there's a couple of things that you can do within your sector that add up to that team. So there's 3 core principles, what you can walk out today within your businesses and do. And the first one is compliance with building regulations. Make damn sure within your business, within your sector, within your teams, you understand and know your building regulations. That's what it's all about now. I don't know if Neil is still in the audience, anyone from the regulator is still in the audience. That is what they are looking for, compliance with building regulations. And I do find it 8 years, if we go back before Grenfell, did anyone in this room say, oh, our design or our installation, it doesn't really comply with building regulations, but it doesn't matter? Did anybody say that? Well, we've got a load of staff that didn't comply and still doesn't comply with building regulations. So know what belongs to you. Know your regs, meet them, know what's ahead of you, so you're not going in and putting compliant work on top of non-compliant work. So know your building regulations. Being competent to do what you do. Again, if I go back before Grenfell, did anyone say, no, well, they haven't got the right skills, they haven't got the right qualifications, they haven't got the right behaviours, we're going to send them out to site anyway? Of course you didn't. But 7.5 years later, we are still wrestling with what competence. I think we can overcomplicate it. I think we need to be really clear what good competence looks like as an industry. You all say that's it, and we build and go from there. And the last core principle, taking responsibility for your actions within your businesses, on your projects, and within your teams. I think we end up as an industry so adversarial and so scared of saying, this is my piece, this is what I'm going to do, and taking responsibility. The more we can do with that. And I'm having these same conversations with our contractors and our clients. It's about, if we're compliant with building regulations, if our teams are competent, it is much easier to stand up and take responsibility. And if we all did that as an industry, we would move forward. Again, I presume pre-Grenfell, you as a board didn't say, no, we're not going to take responsibility for that. We don't care. I want you to just have a quick look at the person next to you. Look them in the eye. Don't need any bromances. Just look them in the eye, the person next to you. Oh, I say, it's all getting a bit lively out there, isn't it? Out in our industry, the reason out in our industry, you might be working alongside somebody on site you don't know. You might be, you're a specialist contractor, you might be the chief executive of a specialist contractor working with another specialist contractor. You've absolutely got to trust each other. And the question is, do they care enough to do the right thing so that you can do the right thing? And I want them looking at you saying, do you care enough about getting this right? Because ultimately, the people that occupy our buildings, we need to care about, we need to take responsibility, and we need to do the right thing. I don't think we actively, all the things I've just talked about, I don't think anybody in this room actively said, I don't really care, it doesn't matter that they're not competent, let's not worry about the building regulations. But we all did little things that just fudged it round the edges, that were just a little bit vague. And when you add all of those up, we end up with a Grenfell. And we're all feeling the fallout of that. We are all tainted by the industry operating in that way. And one thing, I'm going to suggest a little postcard that you take when you go and talk to your clients and contractors who, that race to the bottom, that cheaper contractor, the shortened programme, that of course we can do that, though we don't quite have the right fixing, so I'm just going to use these, and the wonderful ever-expanding foam that you see around our sites. So when your client says, can you do this cheaper, I'd like you to slide this little postcard across them and say, yep, sure can. And just make them think a little bit differently. And I know it's easy to stand up here and say that, but if we took more responsibility, and when a client says, can you do it cheaper, we were honest about that, what that means, just made them think a little bit, rather than go, yeah, because they go, oh, fantastic, they can do it. And if you actually use the Building Safety Act, come back to, do you know what, guys, it's a different world now. We've absolutely got to sit and make sure that our building is compliant. And those of you who attended the building safety session earlier, under your Gateway 2, or if you're not an HRB, you are still caught by the whole building safety regime. You are just doing it at local building control rather than through the regulator. At Gateway 2, you are saying, this is what we are going to build. It's actually probably your principal contractors and your clients are saying, but you are a part of that. They have to be confident in what you're doing. At Gateway 2, you're saying, this is what we are going to build and it's compliant. And at Gateway 3, you're saying, this is what we have built. And if they differ, without a formal change control process approval of change, your building's not going to be signed off. And you will be caught up in that if you are part of that. You can download this off Tinternet. Just print it out and off to once. As Build UK, we look at systems. I'm a systems girl. I love a system. How can you imagine going off your drive at the end of every morning and going, oh, should I drive on the left-hand side of the road or the right-hand side today? And let's hope everybody else makes the same decision. Or you get to Newcastle and you go, blue traffic lights, is that stop or is that go? We as a society work really well in a system. You might choose a fancy pants car, you might choose to go on your bicycle, you might choose to break the speed limit, you might choose not to. But the system is there. And if we use it, we all get there quicker. You've all sat in the car where some idiot has overtaken you, and you go, you're going to get there about 2 minutes before me. It really makes no difference. One of my big frustrations in the industry, and I've worked in the industry all of my working life, I'm a construction site engineer is where I started. I qualified as a health and safety professional and then moved into the representational world about 1 million years ago. But I've worked in the industry all of my life. And my big frustration is we've got some really good systems, but we all want to do it our own way. And if we actually raise the bar and said, you know what, we're going to work on the big systems. So the industry's focused on competence. You are at the front of that. Rachel's in the room somewhere. Rachel, her team, you are right at the front of leading competence training standards, leading to a CSCS card. Now, you might say, well, I don't really believe in the CSCS card. Well, do you know what? It's the best thing we've got. And if we all lean in and go to that, we can make it much better. And actually, you'll stand yourself in good stead in a court of law rather than saying, I've got this random collection of certificates over here, or I'm in the industry recognised scheme. The same with the Common Assessment Standard about corporate organisational capability. Is your business fit to operate in this industry? And BESA supports the Common Assessment Standard through its own audit process. And next time the auditor's coming out to your site, don't all sigh and go, oh, God, they're going to come ask me some questions. Go, actually, do you know what? This is a really good health check on my business. Because I'm going to see what I'm doing right, but I'm also going to see where my gaps are. And I'd much rather the auditor found that than I had an incident out on court. And then you're out on a project. Then you've actually got the opportunity to use that BESA membership and start to get principal contractors saying, why would you use a contractor that's not a BESA member? And I want to see somebody standing up in court and having to say that, because that will immediately demonstrate the value of you being a member, an active member of those standards. So next time the auditor comes out, make them a cup of tea, not to bribe them, but to say, come on, tell me where I can fill my gaps. Where am I exposed? How can I do this even better? And choose your clients carefully. We benchmark the payment terms of every contractor over a certain size in this industry because they have to legally report, so we can benchmark them. By benchmarking, it's on our website. If you just go in Build UK and there's a big thing saying payment terms, you can see where your contractors sit. You can see where your clients sit. So if you know and can see that they've got long payment terms, you should be having that conversation right at the beginning. It should be influencing your decision as to whether you work for them. And again, I know it's easy to stand up here and say, don't work for them if they don't pay you. But if they don't pay you, I'm not sure that's a very good business model. It's more trouble than it's worth. And if you all start saying no, they have to change their behaviour. By benchmarking our contractor members, we shifted their average payment terms from 45 days. It is now across Build UK contractor members, and we've got pretty much all the leading contractors in, down to 29 days. Just by shining a light on them. And interesting, first of all, their payment systems were crap. And that was the first thing they had to sort out. But slowly they've started. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying they all do. But it's fundamentally changed the conversation around payment. You can all help yourselves, because on the flip side, often payments are delayed because your applications aren't fit for purpose. They don't have the right information. Part of my challenge is trying to get some consistency in that, so you're not playing everybody's game. That there's an industry recognised standard for how you apply for payment, not everybody saying, I don't know, you've got to put your welly boot size or your inside leg measurement on this just to get paid. Smarten up your systems. We're smartening up the tier 1 contractors, and slowly but surely they're starting to improve. They will have to report their retentions metrics from now. So by July next year, because of the way the financial years run, they will have to report their retention metrics, and we will benchmark that too. So you will be able to go on and see where the money sticks. Alongside that, there's a current late payment consultation out where the government is telling us it is going to do something on retention. It's going to ring fence it or ban it. We'd like to see a ban. We'd like to see everybody move towards no requirement for retentions. It's not easy. We're walking a very fine line. There are contractors and clients who say, but we like it, and there are specialists who say we don't want it at all. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something here and move it forward, but we need everybody behind it. It's not an easy one. I think there will be steps to it. I can retire when we do this, David. I can retire. So we've got an opportunity there. And we win as an industry when we all lean in and we pull together. And I know that's easy to stand up here and say, but there's some really simple things that you can do, leaning into your trade body, leaning into the industry group, leaning into Build UK, because between us we can absolutely shift the dial. If we're all heading in the same direction, we go much faster. If we all row our own boat, we end up with an industry. This is the industry you've got. And if you're happy with that, keep doing what you're doing. If we want to make a difference, we've all got to lean in and move forward. And I recognise you all compete against each other, but there are some really clear standards that you can all say, those 3 points, we're all going to comply with our buildings. How do we all get brilliant at that? We're all going to employ the right competence and competence. How do we collectively do that and make sure, as a BESA member, you stand head and shoulders above the rest? As a member of BESA, you are part of the specialist contracting family, and you are a pretty powerful lot. If you live up to those standards, it makes David's job much easier, it makes my job much easier to stand on a platform in front of government and say, this is the industry you should be choosing, this is the industry that wants to do it right, and these are the levers I need you as government to pull so we can do our bit. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Suzannah. So, any questions from the floor? Nick, then Cyril, just at the front.
Easy ones only, please, Nick.
I'll be kind.
Can you say who you are, where you're from, by the way?
It's not blind date either, Nick.
No, I don't know if I want to say who I'm from. I'm Nick Mead, Technical Director for Mica Systems at Laing O'Rourke, but also Crown House. So I have 2 hats and 2 relevant things. You started off saying we have systems, speed limits now, and if we adopt them, they work. Then you talk about retentions and getting rid of them. Mixed feelings on that. If we have retentions as a system and they're managed properly and controlled, they work. If retentions are removed, we have an uncontrollable system from our clients that they can make up what they want. What are your views on that?
It's not an easy one, but I think retentions has become not a system anymore. Retentions is a way to take cash flow out the whole supply chain. They are not released. There isn't a system. And where we have set out what a good system is, we've set out what good retention practice is, it just isn't followed. I actually think clients are the challenge here rather than contractors. So the contractors sit pretty because the client withholds money from them, they withhold it from their supply chain. So the contractors are about neutral. And this is where we'll see the metrics, because there's a funny little sum that you do which shows whether how much you've got withheld and how much you withhold. The clients are the challenge because they do withhold the money. And then how many of you have got retentions outstanding that you don't think you'll ever get back? Right, and the hands are slowly going up, and that's from the contractor side. The amount it takes out the supply chain that never gets paid back is just unacceptable and is starving the industry of cash. So if there was a system, to be honest, Nick, I don't think we'd be having the conversation. If it was fair and applied appropriately, and I think if you're working, part of me also says, if you're working with a contractor and you withhold money on them because you don't trust them, why are they part of your supply chain? I don't get that, because that's a whole trust issue. If you've got a new contractor you've never used before, I recognise there's a risk, but I think there's a smarter way of doing it. We've just seen through the MOD on the project bank accounts, they had project bank accounts with ISG, allegedly a system, but it didn't work because the money wasn't ring-fenced and protected. So I think there's a trust and confidence issue there. If it was a system that worked, I don't think it'd be an issue. I don't think we'll be able to find a system that we all trust.
I have a question regarding late payment. I've dealt with the company for 40 years, taken over. In the last 6 weeks, an invoice for £96,000 took 63 days they hadn't paid it. I had the quantity surveyor coming on say, we'll pay you 50% of the bill in 14 days, and the balance in 2 payments of 25%. That is disgraceful. How do I resolve that problem?
You need a lawyer up here.
I know you're going to...
You need a lawyer up here with a speciality in the adjudication.
Debbie.
Where's Debbie? There you go. Cyril, I'm going to introduce you to the lovely Debbie at the back, because there are whole mechanisms. I completely agree with you. It is unacceptable, and I would love to do a TripAdvisor for the whole industry where you can publicly put that.
I don't need the mic. It's the policy that's set in the financial, in the boardroom with the finances. That's where it's set. I did talk to a director of pension, and we got paid a measure. And as a highly specialist contractor, that is a disgrace.
It's a killer.
That's happening in a number of our companies. Many of the members of BESA, the financial constraints and the problems they've got. 40 years I've worked for that company, I haven't mentioned the name. Taken over, new policy.
And that's why the government's doing the late payment consultation with a whole load of metrics to try and start putting pressure on large companies. I don't have a magic wand. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer as to how you fundamentally change that. You need better systems. You've all got mechanisms to charge late interest, but you're never going to do that. I recognise the challenges. Some would say project bank accounts are an answer. I'm not sure they're a panacea. I think choosing who you work for in relationships goes a long way. If it's a Build UK member who's not paying, you come and tell me.
Adrian.
Hello, Suzannah. It's Adrian Hurley, Managing Director of FP Hurley and BESA Immediate Past President. I think we're absolutely behind. I think I can probably speak for, if not everybody in the room, certainly most people in the room. We're right behind all your initiatives, everything you've said this afternoon. But I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I thought maybe a bit of feedback from what's happening on the ground currently. I see something happening where I think the skill shortage is starting to expose us as subcontractors that we're being put under a lot of pressure from our main contractor clients in the sense that we're trying to fit into programs that I think we've committed to at the start that we were hoping would follow through nice and easily and sequentially, but they're breaking down, and then we're being squeezed. And then the demands are coming simultaneously across multiple projects. So the supply chain below us then is struggling to meet our requirements and exposing us. And I think the main contractors are then reverting back to, the contract, which you never want to get into. And I don't know whether that's experience of just us in maybe the South Wales and South West, or whether it's becoming more of a national issue. I don't know, but I think those two things are aligning between the skill shortage and what we can deliver.
I'm not sure there's a clear... The business environment in which we operate is driving these behaviours from all parties. It is a challenge for our industry because construction isn't valued in the right way. Come back to... we end up like this. You end up with buildings that David often, we have conversations about buildings that don't perform because we make decisions with, again, you come back to, where's my little first one? With this. We're an optimistic industry. We go in going, I've done this 1,000 times, it'll be absolutely fine. And we end up like this. You are not alone. I would say, I think there are pockets of excellent practice. It's not all bad. There are pockets of excellent practice. I think this is where I come back to the more consistent you can get with BESA standards, BESA ways of performance. Use the Building Safety Act. The game has changed in terms of your client cannot afford to not comply with building regs or not use competent people. That will be a massive plus and a massive win for those of you. We're just in that point at the moment. You still have clients who aren't quite there yet. If I had a magic wand, I'd fix that for you. I don't.
I've got a couple of questions, unless anybody else has any. You talked about the requirement for compliance, competence, and taking responsibility. We launched the member pledge today. We've just sat and signed off 6 certificates with members who've said their supply chain will be compliant as well. Are clients and main contractors going to take notice of that?
I believe they will, But we have to make it bigger, bolder, better, that it becomes the only way to do business. So David knows that one of the things I'm passionate about, I would really like to see, and I'm looking at our contractors in the room, you come back to that, they should be using trade association members. That should be absolutely their starting point. And we have that conversation, and they, in principle, are there. What we then have to do, part of my challenge is 36 trade associations, everyone has a different requirement. So you're trying to explain, this one's here, that's one's there. So one of the things we're looking at doing and working with David is, how do we make it really clear what that trade association member stands for? It's a bit like, how many of you would book a holiday through a non-ABTA company? I suspect there will be people here, but then you're false to yourself because you're the one who ends up stranded on holiday, stuck in a Thomas Cook hotel or something. How do we get that really simple message back to the principal contractors? Trade association membership means something. My challenge at the moment is, for you guys it does, for not all trade associations. That's not quite the case for all trade associations. So we have to differentiate how we do that and how we are delivering something that in a boardroom of a principal contractor they say, why would we use anybody that's not a BESA member? That is absolutely the direction of travel. And your pledge is, it's not the first step, you're further on than that, but it is a big step in the right direction. So the more of you that you can do that, the more we can raise the standard, the more we can talk to principal contractors and clients saying, why would you not do this?
Time's up. Thank you very much, Suzannah. That was great. And so I think it follows on. So, just so you're aware, the next session in here starts at 3. It's Innovation in Water Treatment in Theatre 2, the Building as a System. Thank you all very much.